stage. So maybe we're going to get a chance to see some of these Dynamax mechanics in play for this next round of Swiss. It is ADrive versus Ashton Cox. Really excited to have both of them on stage with us.
Ashton looked really prepared earlier. When I saw him during round 1, and he was sitting in the front row, very determined. So I think Ashton's here to play. He's trying to win this championship, and then of course ADrive is no slouch as a player competitively, and I believe he was also at the Dallas Regional Championship. So this is his second regional of the season, and of course his goal is to get to London, and it seems like he brought a fun team with him.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a fun team. Colossal, Vanillux, what a treat we're in for ADrive's team. That's so exciting. But on the side of Ashton, we also see an unfamiliar face. It's gonna be that Delmise.
Yeah, Delmise is a pretty cool Pokemon that has not seen much use as, let's say, as some of the other grass types that we have, like say Whimsicott. But it is a Pokemon that if you can get Trick Room off successfully, and Dynamax and those max Phantasms are very strong and very effective. Of course, it's good against all these water type Pokemon that we have threats in the format. And one of those is Inteleon from Dan here. Inteleon, one of the fastest Pokemon in the format.
Yeah.
Obviously, that new water starter for our Galar decks here. Very fast, has ways to hit the things it wants to with Snipe Shot and not be worried about redirection from a Togekiss there. So I think Dan building this team in mind with that Inteleon speed and his way to ignore redirection.
Yeah, well, we're about to find out exactly what that Inteleon is kitted with, maybe in this matchup. We'll definitely find out, but we're about to get into game here between these two amazing players, Dan and Ashton, and we're about to find out exactly what they lead.
Yeah, I like how Ashton is not going to be one-upped in the fun Pokemon category in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about that. It's going to be Raichu and Togekiss to start, and some of those fun Pokemon on Dan's team also making an appearance, Vanillux as well as Inteleon. So we are going to get a chance to see what this Inteleon can do.
Right off the bat, of course, with that Snipe Shot, he wouldn't have to worry about a Follow Me from Togekiss, but in this situation, it might not be the best spot to go up against the Raichu, who can hit Inteleon super effectively. Of course, Inteleon is a Pokemon that likes to Dynamax as well, because it can go for a max Geyser to set up the rain, so its future water attacks are stronger. But of course, at the cost when you go for the Dynamax, your moves then don't have that Stalwart property, or the Snipe Shot property, as I should say. So Dan does have to be wary about that if he does Dynamax.
A Dynamax turn 1 is going to kick things off, and it is going to be the Inteleon that goes for the Dynamax first. What's interesting to me is that we have the Vanillux that utilize that Snow Warning ability early on, so this pair really does surprise me in terms of what this Inteleon is going to do, but Ashton going to match that turn 1 Dynamax, recognizing that this is going to be a big threat in terms of that Inteleon, and Togekiss taking that Dynamax factor.
Raichu does have the potential to fake out also. Of course, if it goes into the Inteleon slot, it will fail, but this Vanillux is vulnerable to a fake out.
Vanillux sitting vulnerable. We'll see what this Raichu decides to do, or any of these other Pokemon. Vanillux going for Protect first, just to potentially bait out that fake out, and yeah, it does. Raichu goes for the fake out into the Vanillux, and Inteleon gets a chance to utilize a max Airstream. We saw Inteleon go for the Dynamax first, so the Pokemon on ADrive's team are already super fast, but it's going to be even faster now.
Yeah, and you see the Life Orb recoil from Inteleon there, revealing the item. And this Vanillux, it would break a Focus Sash, potentially, if that is what Vanillux is holding from the Max Airstream. But these trainers just traded their speed, raising on each side on that turn from matching Max Airstreams.
Matching the Max Airstreams, now this is where that Snow Warning becomes effective, because they're still taking some chip damage from the hail that's on the field.
I will say one thing that could be effective, since we saw that this Inteleon is running Max Airstream, it does have a nice move full coverage for its special attack, so he has a flying attack that can increase his speed. If he went for another Max Airstream, that would make the Vanillix actually faster, and a super effective Blizzard in the hail would be pretty hard to deal with for Togekiss.
Well, we did see the max airstream, but there was a max guard. Inteleon is now paralyzed, but Vanillix is going for the Blizzard. Togekiss not going to take any damage from that because of the max guard, but Raichu does get a chance to take a big chunk.
Yeah, Raichu down to under half his HP, and that was a really smart play from Ashton, understanding that his Togekiss is weak to Blizzard. So if Inteleon was able to get a second attack or a second max airstream off, he would have to eat the airstream plus the Blizzard from Vanillix, and I don't know if the Togekiss would have been able to do that. Now Dan has to be worried that his Inteleon has to break through paralysis potentially, and of course is slower than both of Ashton's Pokemon on his side. But with the hail still up on Vanillix, these Blizzards are 100% accurate instead of the normal accuracy where you have a chance to miss. So as long as hail is up, this Vanillix is still a threat to Ashton's team with these Blizzards.
Vanillix has done its job, is going to go back to Dan, and it is going to be the Colossal coming out in its place. Now, Colossal not a... Ooh, but Eerie Impulse goes into the Inteleon from that Raichu. Special attack harshly falling. That's going to matter so much because that Inteleon loves to use special attack.
That gives him the steam engine boost, though. He just got hit with a fire attack.
This was a great play. If it is going to be steam engine on that Colossal, then we are going to be able to see that speed rise dramatically, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. Togekiss's Max Flare kind of firing back.
Oh, but the Max Geyser gets rid of the Max Flare, which would have been nice for Colossal when he would boost his fire attacks there. But obviously, Dan is seeing the Max Geyser more important. But a really nice switch out for Dan on that turn to bring Colossal into that Vanillix slot. He knew his Vanillix was really in a tough predicament there because it wasn't doing enough damage and it wasn't fast enough to outspeed the Togekiss, but now Colossal has a threat. Of course, it would have liked to Dynamax, but Inteleon kind of stole that slot in this matchup, so now he's going to have to go for a potential Rock Slide into this Togekiss and Raichu, which would definitely knock out the Raichu if it connects, and then most likely, depending on the spread, could potentially take a double knockout with the Togekiss here. So that steam engine boosting his speed all the way up to max speed is really huge.
Oh, well, Inteleon's going to actually be...
policy.
Yeah, it's going to activate the weakness policy from the side. Inteleon's still going to be faster, utilizing the Aqua Jet. So even though Inteleon's going to lose some of its HP there, I think Colossal got just a dramatic boost. But unfortunately, we still see Eerie Impulse, a special attack going to harshly fall. But Colossal going for the Ancient Power right into the Raichu. And even with that special attack drop, still going to do so much work to that Raichu.
That shows that Ashton knows all these Pokemon, as Colossal is not the most common Pokemon. He definitely has a niche, but he knew it was a special attacker, so that Eerie Impulse was actually huge to bring his special attack back down to neutral, making that weakness policy irrelevant.
Jellicent coming out in the Raichu's place. This is an interesting setup for Ashton.
Yeah, because he seems to be a bit passive with the Jellicent. Of course, he can try to set up Trick Room in this situation since the Colossal is so fast at this point. But I do wonder what Togekiss's options are in this situation. He can potentially follow me just to make sure that this Jellicent can get the Trick Room up, or whatever Ashton's fourth Pokemon is, which turns out to be the Conkeldurr, also likes a Trick Room.
Let's see if Jellicent goes for Trick Room here, but before that, Colossal going to go for an Ancient Power right into the Conkeldurr slot. Doesn't do too much damage there, but the Air Slash, oh, I was going to say that would have been a heads-up play.
Will it stop the Trick Room if he gets the flinch?
We're about to find out. The Life Orb recoil was enough to knock out the Inteleon, but unfortunately that Air Slash was all for naught. It is going to be the Trick Room going up.
And now this Conkeldurr is in a really strong position against two of Dan's three Pokemon in the Colossal and the Vanillix, as it's such a slow Pokemon there. It hits both of them super effectively with Drain Punch. Even if he needed the priority, he could potentially have Mach Punch. But we also I think whatever Dan's last Pokemon is he's gonna have to try to handle the Conkeldurr. But for now, these are two Pokemon weak to Conkeldurr, and Trick Room is up.
Trick Room is active, and something that I've noticed for a lot of players is that they don't always have an answer to a back-end Trick Room.
Right. Usually you're ready for the turn one trick room, right? So you're ready for teams where their whole dynamic and their whole reason for bringing it is turn one trick room and win the game. So a lot of times it's similar to a late game tailwind. When you have the chance to trick room later on, it actually sets up the game, sets up the victory for you later than intended. But the point is to win the game, and at that point, Ashton's in a huge lead.
Yeah, Ashton's definitely in the driver's position right now, getting a double knockout onto Dan's Pokemon. This is going to put Ashton in a 2 Pokemon advantage, and we'll have to see what this 4th and final Pokemon is. Maybe it's going to be able to clutch out the win.
The only thing I worry is if it's potentially a Conkeldurr or Rotom-Mow in the back, it's not able to target down all 3 of Ashton's remaining Pokemon, and it is the Rotom-Mow. So Rotom, he can go for a Thunderbolt into Jellicent. Obviously, Thunderbolt is good against Togekiss as well, but while he's targeting those other things down, Conkeldurr is just drain punching away its HP, and it might be at too fast of a rate for Rotom to take care of.
Dan, not wanting to give up too much more information about what that Rotom might be packing, is going to go ahead and put the win over into Ashton's court for the very first game. But this was some great heads-up play by Ashton, really preparing for that back-end trick room.
Yeah, absolutely. He also had the turn 1 play, or the turn 0 play properly, where he had the correct lead, bringing Raichu, so he could pressure Fake Out on that Vanillix. So I think overall, Ashton had a great matchup, or a great head on him in that match. ADrive, he revealed the tech, right? It's unfortunate when you lose a game when you reveal the tech. You showed off the weakness fallacy. You showed off the steam engine switching. Like, you had moments that went for you, but Raichu might have been something that that Colossal wasn't expecting, especially with the Eerie Impulse lowering his special attack by 2 stages. I'd love to see how much those power gems would have done if he didn't have his attack, or if he still had his weakness fallacy boost.
Yeah, Eerie Impulse ended up being such an important factor in that game for Ashton, just really mitigating a lot of the damage from ADrive.
Yeah, and then the other big reveal from Inteleon being the Airstream. You can kind of expect if Ashton sees Inteleon again, you can expect max Airstreams and in the Inteleon to potentially Dynamax. So that might make Dan decide to change up his plan here in game 2. Colossal is another Pokemon that really does enjoy being Dynamax, because you get that double or that increase to your HP. So as a Pokemon who's so weak to water, you can potentially live a water attack, activate your steam engine thanks to the Dynamax, and then activate the weakness policy, and you can really start coming out or causing big damage there. But I like Dan's lead in that matchup. It just seems like the Raichu was so prepared for the Vanillix there, because let's say turn 1 he did get max Airstream Blizzard both into Togekiss, like that'd be pretty tough for Ashton to come back from. But unfortunately for him, for Dan, the Ashton seemed ready, because you're not gonna get anything past Ashton. He has scoured the Pokedex, and he knows what every Pokemon is capable of.
I know, even bringing Dhelmise and Raichu, that's such an interesting combination of Pokemon, but it ended up working out really well, particularly that Raichu. We'll see if we see it again. It is going to be Raichu, but this time partnered with the Jellicent for Ashton. And for Dan, we're going to see the Dusclops this time, and Vanillux. Interesting adaptation from Dan.
Both of these trainers have actually made adjustments here, weeding their potential trick room options. And thanks to the Frisk ability, it showed the Focus Sash on Vanillix, and then the Cassib Berry on the Dusclops. Or no, sorry, I had that one wrong. So that was Dusclops showing Jellicent and Raichu's items there in Focus Sash and Cassib Berry, which is the Ghost Resist Berry on the Jellicent there. So he is at least aware of that now. And of course, if Jellicent or Dusclops want to go for Trick Room, they can get into those Trick Room mind games of, oh, okay, we're both going to go for it, and therefore it resets it to normal. But I really am excited to see what happens on turn 1.
Turn 1 Fake Out from the Raichu onto the Vanillux. It's not going to be able to make a move this time. But the Scald from the Jellicent gets the burn. Not going to be nearly as important, because Vanillux is going to be more of a special attacker. But the Dusclops nor the Jellicent decided to go for Trick Room.
Yeah, I think they're really in a standoff in this point, because nobody wants to get caught trick rooming as the other person takes advantage of that passive move from the other trick room setter. So we might get into a couple of turns of chicken here, where they're trying to bait trying to bait their other teammate into, or the opponent into going for Trick Room before them. And this Vanillix, obviously, the burn doesn't matter too much as a special attacker, but it does help it does hurt since Vanillix is so frail that every hit point it has, it really needs. So the lower and lower it gets, the more likely it is to be knocked out. But that might be what Dan needs if he can get Trick Room off. Having the potential Conkeldurr or Colossal in the back under Trick Room might be what Dan is opting for.
Maybe another game of chicken, but maybe not, because Ashton decides to withdraw Jellison.
Or the ultimate chicken move. So
yeah, maybe it is the ultimate move here, because Conkeldurr coming in might have predicted that we saw ADrive go for a Trick Room here. But this Raichu first going for the Eerie Impulse, maybe not the burn, but you definitely want the special attack drop, as Vanillix goes for Aurora Veil for ADrive.
Yeah, Aurora Veil, huge there. It's essentially like Light Screen and Reflect rolled into one move, but has to be up with Hail. And there is the Trick Room. So Ashton did call. He said, "Thank you for setting up the Trick Room. Now my Conkeldurr can sit here and start attacking pretty fast."
That was a huge call.
Yeah, and I love that. It is unfortunate for Vanillix that it has been Eerie Impulsed again. I love that move from Raichu. It's such a great meta call from Ashton in this for Collinsville, knowing that there's a lot of really strong special attackers in the format, especially when they are Dynamax. Raichu is one of the fastest Pokemon in the format, consistently has been whenever it's been viable in any of the formats. So those really fast Eerie Impulses are able to make all these special attackers have their damage neutered.
Well, Dusclops still going for a bit of damage, but look at the avoid here. Double avoid. That's really impressive, even though they're considered pretty big Pokemon. But the Eerie Impulse again onto Vanillix is making those Blizzards do nothing.
Yeah, I really wonder if, I think ADrive might not think Vanillix is in the win con in this situation. That's why he's keeping him in, and now having his special attack at decreased 4 stages, and he's still sitting here going for Blizzards. The Vanillix kind of did its job. It set up Aurora Veil. You want Aurora Veil up to support your other teammates. So ADrive actually might prefer this Vanillix to get knocked out, so something in the back can start sweeping under while Trick Room and the Aurora Veil are still set up, like a potential Conkeldurr or the Colossal that we saw. The only difference this time is that Colossal's pretty slow, and when it doesn't have that Steam Engine ability activated, it will be one of the slower Pokemon in Trick Room, so it will act first.
Trick Room definitely being utilized here by both of these players. Vanillux taking a break, and Conkeldurr coming back out to match the Conkeldurr from Ashton. Dusclops going for another Nightshade, just trying to chip away at as much damage as possible. But Conkeldurr going for the Rock Slide, doesn't get any misses this time, connects with both Pokemon. Not super effective, but the critical hit onto Dusclops is going to bring it to about 2/3 of its health, and Volt Switch might be able to get another chunk of damage out as Ashton decides to pivot Pokemon.
So I do wonder at this point, what is ADrive's 4th Pokemon in the set? That's information you're always trying to get as a match is going along from your opponent. You see what they reveal. So he hasn't shown it off yet. If he has potentially that Colossal in the back, the Dusclops, a common move it has is, as many Trick Room users do in this format, is Bulldoze, right? Mm-hmm. To not only, 1, lower your own speed so you're faster in Trick Room, but 2, that would activate the Colossal weakness policy. But for now, since it's not on the field, this Conkeldurr, if it has a Thunder Punch, you can try to target down that Jellison, but it's in a really tough spot, not being able to hit it with strong Drain Punches.
Well, it's time to Dynamax. We haven't gotten a chance to see a Dynamax yet. It's been several turns for both of these players, but this Dynamax might be the turning point, at least for Dan, because we are going to see that Conkeldurr become larger than life, and it's going to be packing a big punch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to get hit with one of those cinder blocks that he's holding, especially in his Dynamax form.
Definitely not. Nightshade again from the Dusclops, continuing to just chip away. But Conkeldurr going for the Max Lightning. Raichu, though, the switch in from Ashton, such a big play. The ability Lightning Rod is going to increase Raichu's special attack on the switch in. And the Strength Sap coming up from Jellison is huge.
Strength Sap. That's a Conkelder is a sky-high attack stat, so he's going to recover all the way up to full HP. Look how much effort it took to get that Jellicent just down to under 50%, and now it's as if nothing happened. This Raichu switched in at the perfect time. Ashton just proving to be the master of Raichu in this form, or in this matchup, knowing exactly when to use it and what to press every turn. That this Jellicent is not afraid of a Max Lightning anymore. That would have been critical because a Max Lightning that turn potentially knocked it out, and then you would have the electric terrain up for following turns for the electric attacks to do even more. But ADrive is in a back foot here where he has to switch out his Dynamax Pokemon after one turn of its use.
Yeah, and Ashton making a switch as well. Putting in Dhelmise this time. We get a chance to see what this Pokemon can do.
There you go. Dhelmise that's a cool design there.
Absolutely. Gonna have to take a Nightshade on the switch in, which ends up actually doing a decent chunk of damage, but another Strength Sap from this Jellicent into the Rotom Mow. I actually really like the switch out from ADrive just because that's going to preserve a little bit of that Conkeldurr and just make sure that it can come back in and do its job later. Right,
and on that turn, both Aurora Veil and Trick Room have ended, so now we're back to the regular board state where the fast Pokemon move first, and there's no decreased damage from Aurora Veil, so these attacks will be hitting it or threatening it very, very strongly. Dhelmise, as we talked about in team preview, is a Pokemon that when it likes to Dynamax, that would be a pretty strong hit into the Dusclops, and then obviously Rotom would have its defense lowered for the Conkeldurr to kind of clean up later on in the matchup here. So it seems like this Dhelmise is in a really good spot because he's not worried about getting hit super effectively. And if ADrive wants to set up the Trick Room, this Dhelmise will gladly let him.
Dhelmise. We saw ADrive go for the Dynamax just a turn ago, and now it's time for Ashton to take on the Dynamax factor. It's going to be Dhelmise, and this Dhelmise, if you're not familiar with this Pokemon, gets a chance to actually pack some really powerful moves, so has a chance to do a lot of big damage here. But Rotom going for the Nasty Plot. This is a great way for Dan to kind of come back into the game, making sure that Rotom's special attack going to go ahead and sharply rise, but the max move from the Dhelmise is going to knock out this Dusclops. And I guess Ashton doesn't need to have the Trick Room set up.
No, apparently not. This Dhelmise is set up. It's at full, in a spot. It showed the Life Orb there, so it even has a 30% boost to its already strong attacks. And you mentioned that it doesn't look as threatening as a normal Pokemon. You wouldn't think it does as much damage as it does. But in that Dynamax form, you can really see this that the Dhelmise can pack a big punch. Although I don't know how it punches with an anchor as a body, but we'll let that one slide. This Vanillix, though, he's gonna. ADrive might has one last chance to potentially get an Aurora Veil off on, or activate an Aurora Veil on his side of the field for Rotom Mow and Conkeldurr to take advantage of. But if this Raichu decides to target down that Vanillix slot, it might not get the chance. Of course, if Raichu targets Vanillix, that does mean that the Rotom Mow has a chance to have the Nasty Pot again or get that strong +2 attack off.
Ooh, the Dark Pulse into the Dhelmise is going to be super effective, but looks like for the Raichu, it's the Vanillix that ends up being just a little bit more of a threat. So there's the Fake Out, and there's the cherry on top of that ice cream cone. That's going to be Vanillix fainting, and this is going to be a 2 Pokemon advantage for Ashton.
What could have been really cheeky that turn from ADrive is if you went for a second Nasty Plot to counteract the potential incoming Eerie Impulse on this following turn, because Raichu had the Fake Out utility available to it on that turn, so you might as well use it to stop a Vanillix from setting up Aurora Veil. And now that it doesn't need to Fake Out, it can Eerie Impulse the Rotom Mow on this slot and bring its special attack back down to neutral. But a Dark Pulse reveal is nice on their own because he does have a way to not only hit this Dhelmise super effectively, but also hit the Jellicent with that if he didn't want to go for an electric attack as a regular. Oh!
Going for the Mach Punch. Does knock out the Raichu, so there's no going to be any more Eerie Impulse in this game. Rotom going for another Dark Pulse, and that's going to even the score. It's going to be a 2 Pokemon versus 2 Pokemon game here on out.
That's huge because Jellicent has to come back in here to 2 potential electric attacks, one from the Rotom Mow and one with the Thunder Punch from Conkeldurr, which is not going to be redirected because that Raichu went down. Ashton was not able to preserve Raichu long enough in this matchup to prevent the Jellicent from being threatened. At this point, the Rotom Mow can hit Jellicent super effectively in either way. He can go for the Leaf Storm if it wants to do a lot of damage at the cost of his own special attack stat, or he can just go for the regular Thunderbolt. And with that Nasty Plot boost from a few turns ago, this Thunderbolt would actually be pretty strong. Even if you went for Leaf Storm, it would lower his special attack, but it'd bring it back down to neutral, so it'd still be really strong.
Ooh, Mach Punch. Now we got the Thunderbolt. It's going to be a double into the Conkeldurr, one of the last remaining offensive measures for Ashton. It's just going to be Jellicent against the world, and the Strength Sap going to help out a little bit here, but Jellicent's already at pretty full HP.
Yeah, it's already at full HP. It's really just doing that to lower Conkeldurr's attack stat. Of course, it is diminishing returns on Strength Stat because every turn that you use it, therefore the next turn that attack is lower, so you're recovering less and less. And at this point, potential Thunderbolt from Rotom and Thunder Punch from Conkeldurr would be enough to take out this Jellicent before he's able to knock out both of ADrive's Pokemon, especially the Rotom. I really question what Ashton has available on his Jellicent to handle this Rotom Mow specifically, who can hit it super effectively so well. And great job by ADrive pulling himself back into the driver's seat in this matchup when he was down 4 Pokemon to 2 just a few turns ago.
Yeah, he was definitely down in the numbers, but the Thunderbolt, gonna bring the Jellicent so low. Conkeldurr goes for the Poison Jab just to put the last and final blow, and Ashton is going to drop all 4 Pokemon. ADrive evening the score now. It's gonna be 1 to 1.
We're getting a game 3 here.
We got a game 3.
Round 3. I love to see it. ADrive is he's pretty happy there that he was able to win that one, and Ashton unfazed, as of course this is not his first rodeo. He's able to come back from a loss better than most people can, and he obviously had the play right. You see the Raichu on his hat there, so he's a big Raichu fan. It was so strong and so effective against ADrive's options of beating the Jellicent. But if you come down to your win condition being Jellicent, oftentimes that's not enough, or it's not effective enough to beat your opponent. So Jellicent really thrives when it's helping its teammates and not as your last win con. So Ashton's gonna have to try to find a way in game 3, even though he made all the right calls and he switched in on the Max Lightning and he got the Eerie Impulses off. Well, every turn you're doing that, you're still not providing damage to your opponent. You're still not knocking the opponent's Pokemon out. So what can Ashton do in game 3 to not just make the right plays, but also get rid of ADrive's Pokemon?
And Dan did such a great job of adjusting in that game too. I love the Dusclops change. I think that was one of the reasons why this game ended up going on as long as it did, because there was that game of chicken being played of who's going to click Trick Room. And while Ashton got the call right and was able to bring in Conkeldurr under those conditions, I definitely think that Dan just played around the Trick Room really well, able to stall it out, especially when it was unfavorable for them.
Dan also played around the Kasib Berry on Jellicent extremely well.
Yeah.
Because of how Nightshade works, it kind of circumvents the super effective Ghost typing because it does the same amount of damage every turn based off your level. So
Frisk was huge.
So if he's able to get that Jellicent down to around 50% from a couple of Nightshades, and then have something else in the back like the Thunder Punch on Conkeldurr or the Thunderbolt from Rotom Mow, that would be able to get around it without hitting it with a Ghost attack that it doesn't seem like Dan would have in this matchup. But I think one thing that Conkeldurr interestingly revealed Poison Jab, so that obviously Jellicent's not weak to Poison Jab, so and he showed off Thunder Punch earlier, so he could have went for that. That might have been a bait into Ashton to let you know, hey, just because if you have Togekiss in, that doesn't mean it's safe against Conkeldurr, because if a Max Ooze from a potential Dynamax Conkeldurr would be pretty strong into Togekiss. So I don't know if that was the best strategy to reveal the Poison Jab on Conkeldurr, but it could be a potential big flex to make this Togekiss worried about Conkeldurr.
Yeah, Togekiss doesn't really want to have to face against that.
No.
Yeah, but particularly when most Togekiss are running something like a Babiri Berry, there's so many different ways that you can now get around that, because there's a lot of Pokemon that are teching other moves that are super effective against Togekiss, like something like an electric attack, or in this case, a poison attack.
Yeah, we see it from a lot of Pokemon, and that's somewhat of the beauty of Dynamaxing, is that you have really strong attacks that are usually you wouldn't be using because you don't get the same type of attack bonus on it, so you're not, you getting that additional 50% of damage. But because you're getting an increase to the base power on the attack, on your Dynamax moves, or your max moves there, you are kind of effectively using a stronger tech move in the Poison Jab than you would be if you were hitting it with something that would have the same type of attack bonus. So I think I'm just really, that was a great job by ADrive in game 2. Down 4 Pokemon to 2. He seemed like he was in a really tough spot. His Vanillix wasn't effective. His electric attacks were being redirected all over the place from Raichu, and he still pulled it back to force a game 3. And I wonder what Ashton's adjustment is, if he just leads Delmage right away and starts rolling with Dynamax, or he just completely switches it up.
Well, what worked in game 1 might work for game 3. Who knows? Definitely looking at the matchup here, I don't think that Ashton's going to decide to adjust to bring Arcanine in this case. I think that Raichu is definitely the best supportive Pokemon that they could bring. And I actually really like the idea of leaving Togekiss behind. But Togekiss also worked out really well in game 1, so who's to say?
Right, it's so tough when you get into these mind games of like, okay, my adjustments in game 2 worked out well for me. Do I have to adjust then again, or do I keep with it? It's the mental gymnastics the top Pokemon trainers have to go through are something that I do not envy.
No, well, here's some of the mental gymnastics where we're seeing the same game leads from game 1, Raichu and Togekiss versus the Inteleon and the Vanillix.
So Vanillix obviously is potentially threatened from Fake Out yet again on Raichu, as we've seen in 3 games now. Raichu can use a lot of pressure here, stopping Vanillix from going for a super effective Blizzard into the Togekiss. Of course, Inteleon, if it wants to Dynamax again, which we saw in game 1, that means he wouldn't really be threatened by a Fake Out. So if Dan is expecting a Fake Out into that Vanillix slot, it might not be the worst idea in the world to switch that out into a potential Ghost-type Pokemon in the back in Dusclops, or somebody else who can handle the Raichu here. If, of course, Inteleon is who Dan thinks is his best option to Dynamax. Of course, we can actually see them saving potentially Dynamax for later on in the game, as that worked out well in game 2, where they didn't Dynamax right away, and that was pretty interesting to see. But instead, we're actually just gonna just go right for it, wrecking havoc on turn 1.
Absolutely going to be wreaking havoc. You have Ashton going for the turn 1 Dynamax onto Togekiss, which is a familiar face in game 1. Raichu going for the Fake Out, this time onto the Inteleon. Read correctly that there wasn't going to be a Dynamax there, and now Togekiss gets a chance to go for the Max Airstream right into the Inteleon, and that's a frail Pokemon. Roll knockout.
Wow, that was a huge turn from Ashton. Not only did he get rid of the potential Dynamax user that can match the Max Airstreams from Togekiss, but it was also, he's also not able to boost the speed on this Vanillix, so he's not fast enough the next turn.
Oh, but the froze!
Oh, you don't need to be faster if you're frozen solid.
Wow, I've never seen a Dynamax Pokemon just take a chill like that.
And with that face, he doesn't seem to be phased by being frozen, but that's a pretty critical status condition in this scenario.
Absolutely, very critical. I mean, Togekiss now doesn't get a chance to continue its game plan of getting those Max Airstreams off and continuing to raise the speed, and that might be really important here as Conkeldurr comes in for Dan.
So what do you do in this situation? Do you expect your opponent never to thaw and you kind of just focus on the other slot? Or do you anticipate him to break out of this freeze, and so you target it down with a potential Ice Punch Blizzard? Like, what is I wonder what's going through his head here. He's already lost the Pokemon, but he does have the advantage here to go for a Blizzard and then a potential Max Hailstorm also into this slot. And Ashton didn't switch out because this Togekiss is in such a bad spot that he might just have to take 2 ice hits.
Yeah, it definitely is just sitting on the field and kind of sitting pretty at this point. Conkeldurr, though, will be Dynamaxing, and Raichu going for the Volt Switch into the Vanillix. We're not going to see the Eerie Impulse, but that actually did a decent chunk of damage to that Vanillix.
Yeah, the Vanillix isn't really, it's not trained too much, and of course if it is holding that Focus Sash item, then that would be broken. This Jellicent, though, is a nice switch for Ashton if Conkeldurr wants to try to boost his attacks up.
Togekiss is frozen.
If he wants to boost his attacks and go for Max Knuckles, this Jellicent would obviously be immune to those fighting hits, but I don't see what stops a potential Max Hailstorm, except for that decision as Ashton gets rewarded for his switch into a Ghost type on a fighting attack.
That was a great decision from Ashton because this is one turn stalled from that Dynamax from ADrive.
Right. It was kind of like a max guard without actually clicking it because he was just frozen in space and nobody targeted Togekiss in that slot. Now the Vanillix is free, though, to go for Blizzard, as last turn he wanted to set up the Aurora Veil. Now he can go for Blizzard and then potentially another attack. Or Freeze Dry, which is super effective on water types.
It is going to be super effective on this Jellicent. No freeze, but unfortunately we will see the Togekiss continue to be frozen, but there's the Max Ooze. Actually doesn't do too much damage. This Togekiss is going to be able to hold on. But the special attack is going to
attack, right?
Yes.
For Vanillix.
Yeah, Vanillix is very scary right now, but Trick Room might be able to help out Ashton.
Now, but what he did with Trick Room there is on this final turn of Dynamax for Conkeldurr coming up, he can go for the Max Hailstorm. Obviously, I wouldn't risk the Max Lightning since Raichu can switch in. So if Jellicent, it doesn't have a way of knocking out Vanillix in one hit from what it looks like to be around 70% of his HP remaining. And this Conkeldurr is going to be attacking really fast. So if you knock out this Togekiss, the best thing Ashton can do is thaw at some point, but instead he's just going to switch and expect this electric attack. Did ADrive fall for it again? No. No,
it's going to be another Max Ooze into the Togekiss slot, and unfortunately Raichu's going to have to take it for its partner, and it's going to be a knockout for that Raichu.
And now Vanillix is +2 on his special attack, and this Freeze Dry will be really strong into Jellicent.
Jellicent going for the Strength Sap, though, onto this Conkeldurr, so it's going to regain all of its health back. We know from previous iterations of seeing that combination, but Vanillix going for the Freeze Dry. Let's see how much this +2 does.
Ooh,
oh, it's a one-hit knockout.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of damage.
I don't think Jellicent's used to being knocked out from full HP very often.
No, I don't think so either. It's definitely one of the more bulky Pokemon, but all of those Max Oozes coming out for the Conkeldurr. What an interesting tech from Dan, because it's really been helping to keep this Vanillix a threat on the board.
Usually you'll see a special attacker with Max Knuckle, like say from Focus Blast, which increases their teammates' attack stat, like for Excadrill or Tyranitar or something. Not as often do you see the physical attacking Max Ooze to increase his teammate's special attack in this format, and that just shows how beautiful the symmetry is in VGC, where this is a team game. Not only was Conkeldurr doing what he needed to get rid of the threats on Ashton's sides, but at the same time providing offense, he was boosting up his teammate passively with the Max Oozes, increasing his special attack. So really, really well played. Of course, the problem is Togekiss has been frozen this whole time, so that definitely changes the dichotomy of the situation. If he wasn't frozen, these players might have had to go for different options in this matchup. But that is what happens, unfortunately, sometimes in Ashton's case. That it's a part of the game that can come back to bite you.
Well, Conkeldurr at full HP is going to be again packing another big punch, and this time into the Vanillix. So Ashton read that switch out correctly, and unfortunately that switch out wasn't enough to buy time for this Togekiss to get unfrozen.
That might have been nice if he did unthaw there, and he can go for a Follow Me the following turn. Of course, he still does have the chance at a priority if he goes for Follow Me or Protect. Those two attacks will go before the other attacks on ADrive's side, so he can unthaw and Protect, or unthaw and Follow Me and redirect attacks away from Ashton's Conkeldurr. But at this point, a strong Thunderbolt or Volt Switch, any hit's going to take down the Togekiss. Rotom is faster traditionally than Togekiss, so he would be able to knock it out. And then it's Conkeldurr in a Conkeldurr fighting on fighting matchup versus a full health Rotom here. So ADrive's found himself in a really good spot.
Poison Jab is going to be the move of choice to knock out this Togekiss, and unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see that Togekiss do too much because of the freeze, but Conkeldurr is still alive for Ashton. Goes for the Drain Punch onto the Rotom and does some good amounts of damage.
brings him down to around half his HP.
Oh, but the nasty plot.
Ashton securing the potential late game sweep here by increasing his special attack. And of course that Aurora Veil was up the entire time, so imagine the Drain Punch doing even more damage if it wasn't for the Aurora Veil. But now that, so if Trick Room, this is the final turn. If Rotom is running Protect, I don't know if it is, if he has both Nasty Plot and the Dark Pulse that we saw revealed in Game 2. If he protected, he would have been able to wait out that last turn, but instead this Drain Punch into the Rotom is going to be able to take it down.
It is going to take it down, and all of the damage that we got a chance to see Dan's Conkeldurr do is going to be mitigated to some level, but that's it for the Trick Room. It's Conkeldurr versus Conkeldurr to settle the score and settle the match.
Yeah, this is the fighting type club here, where they're just gonna Drain Punch each other and maybe hope for a critical hit. They're both really high health, so of course the amount of HP they recover every turn is then going to be mitigated by the opposing Drain Punch, bringing it back down here. So this is a very strong like what's the like the water noodles in a pool or whatever. Like it's like a noodle fight between really strong and offensive Pokemon here.
What's very interesting is this is 2 times in a row that we've seen Ashton's Conkeldurr move first, but the Drain Punch is again just continuing to chip away at that damage and bringing those HP bars so low. But this might be the final hit. I'm not sure.
And which position do you want to be? Do you want to be attacking first to recover your health, or do you want to be second because at the end of each turn you're going to have a lower, your opponent's going to have their lowered attack. So if this Drain Punch doesn't knock out, which it doesn't, ADrive is going to be able to bring his the opposing Conkeldurr low enough to potentially go for that Mach Punch, where his Mach Punch knocks out, but Ashton's Mach Punch does not knock out.
Oh my gosh, I'm at the edge of my seat. What move did these Conkeldurrs decide to click to decide it all?
If they both click Mach Punch, I think Ashton needs a crit Mach Punch to knock out ADrive's Conkeldurr.
Mach Punch?
Is that
enough? It's not enough! 11 HP! They have Mach Punch back. That's going to be the Conkeldurr fainting, and ADrive takes the series.
Oh, wow. What a great comeback from ADrive, being down, losing game 1 convincingly.